Hello, Profit Hackers. I'm Jeremy Lott, the Chief Visionary for Foundation Accounting and Consulting. I owned a construction company for about 15 years before making a change to accounting because my accountants sucked. My goals are to simplify accounting for construction company owners, fuel your profits, level up your cash flow, and help you grow in a financially responsible way. So let's go. Hey, Profit Hackers, and welcome back to the Contractor Profit Hack Show. I'm Jeremy Lott with Foundation Accounting and Consulting, and I am here to talk about another number. And this one is a ratio because we're going to divide one number by another, right? And so I want to talk today a little bit about profit by truck, or profit per piece of equipment. Now, this is a term that's commonly used, right? And I want to make sure that we understand this concept and how to use it properly, right? So a quick story. My oldest daughter, Natalie, she was graduated as a 4.0 student in high school and super smart and very much by the books, right? She's super dependable. If you need somebody to get something done, she's the person. If you need someone to follow your explanation to a T, she's the person, right? And her senior year, I didn't help much with the kids' homework. My wife, Kelly, mostly did that. But this one particular time, I decided I was going to help. And Natalie was working on a history assignment. And she had a big textbook. And she would go down the list of questions. And for each question, she would then go back to the chapters that they had to read. And it was like 20 or 30 pages that she had to scan. And then start scanning through them till she found an answer. And then she'd go to the next question and then go back to those same 20 or 30 pages and start scanning the text until she found the answer. And she was doing that over and over again. She was really frustrated. It was late at night. She was ready to go to bed, right? And I was watching her do this. And I said, well, why don't you just use the index? And she said, the index? What's the index? And I said, well, look, here's the question. And this word is pretty unique here in this question. So we'll flip to the back of the textbook here and go through the index alphabetically until we find that word. And then it'll show us several different pages so we can pinpoint where it's at without having to scan 30 pages, right? She was shocked. She was convinced it was cheating. I was so befuddled that she had made it all the way to her senior year without using an index on a textbook. Now, if you're younger, you probably have no clue what an index is on a textbook. Let me define it for those of you that are not old like myself. A textbook would often have an index, usually have an index in the back, right? Where key words or terms or phrases would be listed alphabetically. And then anytime that word was referenced in somewhere in the book, that page number was written down next to it, right? And so you could go through the index and you could find where everything was. Well, my daughter, Natalie, thought this was cheating, bless her heart. And it took a lot of convincing, but she finally came around to realize that using the index of a textbook is not cheating, and that it was actually encouraged, and that it would speed up the amount of time that it took her to do the homework. And we were able to finish that assignment together really quickly. And then there were no more tears, and she was able to go to bed, right? But the problem that we were faced with there is that she was not using it properly. She didn't understand it, and she was using it incorrectly, right? Or not at all, actually, because she didn't know about it, right? And so when we're using a number like profit by truck, or profit per piece of equipment, or profit per employee, things like that, there is a common mistake that happens. And the common mistake, the misuse of that, if you will, is that they will take one job or two jobs, and they will track their profit on that one or two jobs, and then make an assumption that that's their average. And that is where things go haywire, right? You're supposed to use it the opposite direction. What you do instead is you gather together a lot of historical data, right? Many, many jobs done by that one truck, many, many jobs, and add up all the revenue from that truck, right? And then you divide that revenue by the total number of jobs that truck did, and it tells you how much profit that truck makes per job, or how much revenue it brings in, right? I mean, you have to go through and add up the profits from each job in order to get the profit by truck. So I misspoke there. You need to do the revenue minus all the costs, and that'll give you the profit. And then you add up all the profit from all those jobs that one truck did, and divide that profit by the number of jobs that truck did. Okay? So that's going to give you a number. And is it good or is it bad? Well, we don't really know. It isn't necessarily good or bad. Improvements can always be made. And so we want to use this number, but it's not necessarily good or bad. It's how your crew operates right now, right? And so we can now use that, and on the next job that truck does, or any other truck, whatever, on the next job that truck does, we can go through, we can figure out all the revenue, we can figure out all the cost of goods sold, right? And then we have the profit on that truck for that job. Now we can take that number and compare it back to the average profit by truck. And when we do that, now we're able to see, okay, this is our norm. This average is our norm. That's what we do on average, profit per truck. Here's what we did with this truck. If the number is lower, well, then we can start breaking down the details of that job and look for inefficiencies and what went wrong. If the number's higher, we want to use that as well. We want to go back and see what processes, how things were done on that job, so that we can replicate that on future jobs. And over time, we will increase that average profit per truck. Okay. So that's how you use the profit by truck or profit by employee correctly. First, you have to get a lot of data to come up with your average. If you're just using one or 2 points or one or two jobs, it's not going to give you good data. You have to have a lot of it, right? And and then once we have it, we use it on each job that we complete going forward to see how we compare to our average, right? And that's the way that we know if the number is good or bad. The average is not good or bad. The average is how we operate. That's what we're doing. We can always make improvements. When we apply that and compare it to the profit per truck for that job, then now we can start using it to help improve efficiencies and help us operate better going forward, right? Awesome. So hopefully you guys will go out there and spend some time figuring out what are the key components of your company. Is it like if you're an excavation company, is it per piece of equipment? How much money you're making per piece of equipment? Is it the employees? How much you're making per employee? You can track that as well. How much you're making per crew, which is kind of the same thing as saying profit by truck. But figure out a good way to be able to track each job and see if you're doing above average or below average, and then use that to make changes and improve efficiencies. Okay? So Jeremy with Foundation Accounting and Consulting, and this is the Contractors Profit Hack Show. Thank you very much for listening in today. It's been exciting to share more stories and more knowledge with you guys. And hopefully you're finding this useful and you're able to implement it. So I'm Jeremy, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like and subscribe for weekly episodes to help you fuel your profit, level up your cash flow, and finance your growth. Until next time, go enjoy some green M&Ms and protect that cash.